months ago, I was feeling like I needed some new art supplies because I'm basically addicted to buying them. If you haven't seen my many videos on the topic, you can go watch them here. I ordered this package from Jackson's around the beginning of September. It is now November and it is literally just arrived, and I'm probably a bit too excited about it. Okay, this brush seems somehow stuck inside here. The packaging is somehow stuck to the brush, so that's good. I've been wanting a big mop brush for a very long time, and I do have one, but it's shedding so much hair. So I'm very excited to have two new bigger brushes to try. I've also been a bit obsessed with gouache, or at least watching YouTubers paint with gouache. These are the three that I got: burnt sienna, cadmium yellow hue, and vermilion hue. Then I also got some masking fluid. Some people just say that you should leave the gaps for the white of the paper. Some people use white gouache, and some people use masking fluid. The useful thing about masking fluid is you don't have to worry, when you're doing a big wash, you don't have to worry about saving any gaps. I bought this to use with this. I think it's a good thing to use with masking fluid, so I'm going to give that a go. And then finally, I got this palette. Currently, I just use my travel palette. I've used this a lot in my videos. It's in almost every video. It's a really good palette. I love it. It's small and compact. The problem that I have is these are really the only two areas that I can mix on, because this whole section I just use for gouache, and I don't like to mix my gouache and my watercolour together because then it stops the watercolour being transparent. That's where this palette comes in. This is pretty much what it looks like, and as you can see, when I compare the two, I'm gonna have a lot more space to mix on now, so that's gonna be good. Okay, so that is my completed palette. I've filled it completely up. So I'm just gonna wait a few days for this to dry, and then we'll try it out with a painting. I've been trying to think for a few days what I want my very first gouache painting to be, because I feel like when you get a new art supply, you want like the first thing you do to be good, which is probably just putting way too much pressure on it. But anyway, I've been really inspired recently by the work of Teddy Parker. I'll put a link to her Instagram down below, but she does a lot of still lifes, and I think I'm gonna do a still life. I've just found a load of random stuff in my fridge, and let's give it a go. At the start of this painting, I almost forgot that it was gouache that I was using, and I definitely thinned it down a bit too much. I think it might have even been better to start off using watercolour as the base colour and then build up the gouache over the top, just to give me a better idea of the tones as I was going. But after a while, I started to gradually use less water and use the gouache as the opaque paint that it's supposed to be. So I'm pretty excited to keep going with this gouache painting practice, because I find it a lot more freeing than watercolor in many ways, because if you make a mistake, you can just go over it because it is opaque. Obviously, you don't get the amazing transparency that you can get with watercolor where the paper shines through, but there are a lot of benefits to having opaque paint. It does make things a lot easier. It's kind of weird that I've been doing watercolor for so long and yet I haven't actually ever used masking fluid. I've also bought this thing which apparently is called a drafting ruler, and it's supposed to be good for using with masking fluid. I'm also doing this on a piece of cardboard just because I feel like it would be easier to see what I'm doing for this initial test. Just gonna kind of dip it in here. Ooh, it has that feeling of PVA glue. To test out the masking fluid, I found this scene in New Zealand that I'm painting as part of my sketch challenge, and I thought it would be a really good one to test out the masking fluid because we've got this white snow on the top of the mountain, and then also we've got these lines in the road. Both of these things would be quite difficult to achieve just by sort of painting around them, so I'm quite interested to see if the masking fluid will help with this painting. This sketch was a bit of a challenge. I was painting it outside and it was about 30 degrees, so it was drying really fast, so I wasn't able to blend as much as I would like, and just a few different things went a bit wrong. But anyway, the masking fluid itself worked really well. One thing I would say is that it takes quite a long time to dry initially, so I wouldn't use this technique if I was out and about urban sketching, just because it would take way too long for it to dry. But if you've got a bit of spare time, it is a really nice technique to use, just because it makes it so much easier to leave those white sections white. Also, it's just really fun to peel off. I did have a slight issue at the end here. I don't think the paper was completely dry, so it did rip the paper a little bit, but I think that's my fault for not being patient enough and waiting for it to dry, and I just fixed it with a bit of paint over the top. I had a lot of fun testing out all these different art supplies this week. I definitely think I'll be doing a lot more gouache paintings in the future because that was a lot of fun. If you're interested in any of the things that I've been using this week, then they're all listed in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!